Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Saturday, August 27th, 2022. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Helps us out a ton. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Now, if you're looking for my MLB best bets, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Of course, I'm always running my $15 MLB best bet, so you can check that out at Pick Dawgz Premium. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Saturday, August 27th. First up, we see the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Toronto Blue Jays with Shohei Ohtani and Alek Manoah as the starters. Now, Shohei Ohtani struggled in his last start against the Detroit Tigers. 4 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, a home run, 4 walks, and only 2 strikeouts. And that's pretty surprising when you look at the numbers for Detroit. They are near the bottom in most important hitting metrics against those right-handed pitchers. So a surprise struggling start for Ohtani. He's now given up at least 1 home run in 5 of his last 6 starts, which is also concerning. Against the Blue Jays back on May 26th, Ohtani did not have his best stuff. He did have 10 strikeouts in 6 innings, but he gave up 2 home runs, 5 earned runs, and a 6-3 Blue Jays win. And, Alek Manoah, I was very impressed with him in his most recent outing. He's starting to miss some more bats in his last 11 2/3 innings, getting 15 strikeouts. And against the Yankees in his last outing, 6 innings, only 1 earned run, no home runs in those 8 strikeouts. Now, his bats didn't back him up in that game. That was a 4-2 Yankees win, but I do think the Blue Jays offense shows up here. And I'm going to take the Toronto Blue Jays here on the money line, but not my favorite game on the board, just based on not a ton of value in this one. Next up, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Boston Red Sox here, a 4:10 Eastern start time in Fenway Park. Jeffrey Springs and Rich Hill are the starters, a pair of lefties in this one. Now, when you look at both of these teams offensively against left-handers in the last month, pretty similar numbers. The Rays are 16th in WRC plus as a team. The Red Sox are 17th, so just right behind them. And you look at Rich Hill, he has struggled at Fenway Park. He's 1-3 with a 6.82 ERA. His last start against the Pittsburgh Pirates was on the road. He pitched pretty well, but that's the Pittsburgh Pirates. I don't really love this matchup against the Tampa Bay Rays, who have been red hot as of late. And on the other side, Jeffrey Springs, I do believe, is the far more trustworthy starting pitcher. On the road, he's got a 2.68 ERA with a 4-1 record. He's got 58 strikeouts and 53 2/3 innings pitched, only allowing 5 home runs. So about a home run every 10 innings, not too bad. And, he's in his last 2 starts, he faced the Yankees and Angels, 10 2/3 innings combined with 11 strikeouts, only 2 earned runs. So he's in good form. I think he's in much better form than Rich Hill. I also trust this Tampa Bay Rays bullpen a lot more. So although these 2 lineups are pretty similar, I give the edge to the Rays, and we're getting a really good price here as the underdog. So give me Tampa Bay here on the money line. Next up, we see the Philadelphia Phillies hosting the Pittsburgh Pirates. We're going to see Tyler Beede and Kyle Gibson on the mound for this one. I'm going to take the Philadelphia Phillies team total over in this game. And I think I want to mention for this Saturday card and really this whole weekend, we're going to see a lot of big-time favorites. There's a lot of mismatches, and we see plenty of teams that are minus 150 or more on the money line, even minus 200 or more in quite a few spots, including this one. So rather than laying a bunch of negative odds run lines or even thinking about taking the money line, which is to me is no option there, I'm going to try to look to do other things with these games to get us a good price and get us some good value. And I do think the team total over is a good decision here with Philadelphia, who I believe will be able to get to the starting pitcher and the Pirates bullpen. So I like them to score from start to finish in this game. When you look at their offense against lefties, number 2 in WRC plus in the last 30 days, but they're facing a righty starting pitcher. So what's the numbers against righties? They're in the top 10 as well in WRC plus, 7th in team OPS, 7th in isolated power. So against a righty, against a lefty, whether the Pirates bring in some lefties out of the bullpen, I do think the Phillies will be well prepared here offensively, especially when you get Bryce Harper back in the lineup. That doesn't hurt. So give me the team total over 5.5 runs here for the Philadelphia Phillies. Next up, we see the LA Dodgers taking on the Miami Marlins with Sandy Alcantara and Dustin May on the mound. Now, normally you'd think this is a really good pitching matchup, and the total is set at 6.5, so it does look like it's going to be a lower scoring game, but I just can't get behind the Miami Marlins. Not only is their offense struggling, not only do they look miserable against Dustin May in his first start of the season. What a season debut for Dustin May. He went 5 innings, 9 strikeouts, only 1 hit, no earned runs allowed against the Miami Marlins. We know they're struggling quite a bit as a team offensively, but when you look at Sandy Alcantara, he just hasn't had any luck against this Dodgers team. Now, part of me thought maybe it's only in Los Angeles because this year, 3 2/3 innings, 10 hits, 6 earned runs, a home run against the Dodgers in LA in 2022. Last year, 2021, against the Dodgers on the road, he went one and a third innings, 7 hits, 8 earned runs, a home run, 2 walks. It was an awful start. But I looked at the start against the Dodgers back in Lone Depot Park, so maybe he's pitching better against LA at home. Really wasn't the case. 4 innings, 7 hits, 5 total runs, 3 of those were earned. 5 strikeouts, but he just hasn't had a lot of luck with this Dodgers lineup, and I just can't trust him here yet again. I'm going to take the Los Angeles Dodgers laying the run line here. I think scoring 2 runs may be enough for a run line cover for LA, so give me the Dodgers on the run line. Next up, we see the Cincinnati Reds taking on the Washington Nationals. Luis Cessa and Paolo Espino are the projected starters. Luis Cessa more of an opener, as the Reds are going to go with the bullpen game here. But I really don't love this Reds bullpen, and I don't really like the Reds in this spot in general. We saw Joey Votto go down with the season-ending injury. Now Jonathan India is banged up. I don't think he'll be available for this game. So an offense that was already struggling quite a bit now loses 2 of their bigger bats, and I don't think that the Reds compete in this game. Paolo Espino, not my favorite starter. He's not really a strikeout guy, and his ERA above 4 this year. But, he's been able to give the Nationals some much-needed innings. And in the last 5 starts he's had, the Nationals have won 3 of those 5 games against the Cardinals, the Cubs, and the Padres. So a couple of above 500 teams thrown in there. I think Espino's good enough here. The Nationals bullpen is pitching really well. It's been keeping them in games, and it's been coming up clutch, especially in that Padres series. So I'm going to take the Washington Nationals. You're not going to see them favored in many games this season, but in this series, they're favored a few times. Give me the Nats on the money line. Next up, we see the Texas Rangers hosting the Detroit Tigers. No official lineup for this one, as the Rangers have not announced a starter. Not my favorite game on the board. I'd like to see who the Rangers decide to go with on the mound, but Eduardo Rodriguez should be going for Detroit, and I just don't really trust him in this spot. The Texas Rangers have the number 2 team OPS against lefties at home in the last 30 days with a 936 team OPS. They're number 3 in isolated power. Eduardo Rodriguez only making his 2nd start back from the injured list. His first start, he didn't give up a single earned run, but it was against a struggling Angels lineup, and he still gave up 7 total base runners, 4 hits and 3 walks in only 5 innings of work. I think the Rangers can get to him for a few runs. I don't love this Tigers offense on the road, and overall Detroit has not played well at all on the road. 19-42 right now. We'll see what happens to the final score of tonight's game, but I'm going to take the Texas Rangers here and lay the run line, laying the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Chicago White Sox. Merrill Kelly going for Arizona. No official starter for the White Sox, so no official lineup for this game. I'm going to lean towards the Diamondbacks plus the 1.5 runs here. In the 11 road starts that Merrill Kelly's had, so about 65 innings pitched, he's got a 2.49 ERA, a 199 opponent's batting average. He's only given up 3 home runs in those 65 innings. Very impressive there. Now, his strikeout numbers aren't as prominent on the road as they are at home. However, in his last 5 starts overall, which include 2 road starts, he's had at least 5 strikeouts in every single one of those outings, including a couple tough starts against the Cardinals and Braves. So I do like what I'm seeing from Kelly overall. The White Sox, they've been underperformers this season. A lot of that has to deal with injuries, a lot of people in and out of the lineup. But even though I'm not ready to give up on the White Sox in terms of their outside playoff chances, I don't really think they're going to run up the score in this game. I think if the White Sox win it, it's going to be by 1 run at the most. I expect a low-scoring game, a close game. I could see a 4-3, 3-2 kind of final score. But give me the 1.5 runs here with Arizona on the road. Next up, we see the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Houston Astros. Dean Kremer and Jose Urquidy are your projected starters. Jose Urquidy, in my opinion, one of the tougher starting pitchers to read this season. We saw him struggle mightily at the beginning of 2022. Then we saw him pitch pretty well. He's had a few really good outings in his last 5 starts. He pitched a gem against the White Sox. He was strong against the Braves. But then in the middle of that, he pitched a miserable start against the Texas Rangers. 5 innings, 5 hits, 5 earned, 3 home runs. And that was a home start. So, Jose Urquidy, tough to read. He's got a 3.63 ERA, but a 4.41 expected ERA, a 4.37 FIP, 4.36 xFIP. So I do think the Orioles, who have hit righties very well this season, I think they can get to Urquidy for a few runs. And I think on the other side, the Houston Astros are improving quite a bit against righties. At the beginning of August, they weren't really doing much, but they've started to break out now. Their team OPS and isolated power numbers are going right back to where they were in the month of July against righties. So I do think they'll be able to get to Dean Kremer, another guy that I see some regression worries in his game. His xFIP is above 4 right now. So I think both teams get on the board here. I know the Astros have trended nicely to the under this season, but I do like the over in this game, especially with the Astros bullpen just not as sharp as it was at the beginning of the season. Next up, we see the Chicago Cubs taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. Drew Smyly going for the Cubbies. No official starter for the Brewers right now, but I do see Brandon Woodruff listed on a few websites, so he may very well be the guy that goes here for Milwaukee. I like the first 5 innings under in this game. I do like to fade the Brewers offense when they're facing a lefty, and they're facing another lefty here. They faced plenty of lefties in the last 2 weeks or so, but they're facing another one here in Drew Smyly, who is pitching pretty well for Chicago. His last 4 starts combined, only 3 earned runs allowed. Now, those were starts against some weak teams, the Marlins, the Reds, the Nationals, but in his most recent start, he faced the St. Louis Cardinals, who we know probably the number 1 lineup against lefties in this entire season. He went 7 innings, only 1 earned run with 6 strikeouts. We're not really used to seeing Smyly miss a lot of bats, and especially against the Cardinals lineup that does such a good job at limiting strikeouts. That was impressive. That was one of the better starts I've seen him pitch this entire season. And against the Brewers, who have just had miserable numbers against lefties all year long, I think Smyly delivers at least through the first 5. I don't trust this Cubs bullpen at all, so I wouldn't take the full game under. But on the other side, Brandon Woodruff, if he does get the start here for Chicago, he has pitched really well in the first 5 innings of games himself. We've seen him struggle towards the ends of his outings at times, especially against the Dodgers back on August 16th, where he gave up a few late home runs. But I think this game is going to be low scoring at the start. Could pick up a little bit towards the end of it with the Cubs bullpen, but give me the under through the first 5 innings. In our next game, we head to the Big Apple as the New York Mets host the Colorado Rockies. Kyle Freeland and David Peterson are your projected starters. When I looked at this series on paper and I saw the pitching matchups, this was the game that I believe that the Rockies had the best chance of competing in. However, I still don't really love their chances here, and I'd rather just take the over in this game. I think the Rockies offense will put up a few runs on the board on David Peterson, who struggled quite a bit in his last outing, giving up 8 base hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, and only 4 2/3 innings of work against the Phillies. I don't really love Peterson as a starting pitching option, although he's not having as bad a year as I thought he would. He's still somebody that has an ERA above 4 at home. He has control issues. He gives up a lot of base runners, so I think the Rockies can take advantage of that. But on the other side, I do think the Mets get on the board quite a bit against Kyle Freeland and the Rockies bullpen, as Freeland has better numbers on the road at 3.62 ERA, and the road's pretty good. However, the Mets have really improved their numbers against lefties offensively. Kyle Freeland still gives up a lot of base hits. He's given up at least 6 in each of his last 5 starts. That includes 2 road starts. He gives up plenty of home runs, and that includes 2 home runs in his most recent road start against the Cardinals. Doesn't strike out a lot of batters. I think the Mets can get to him for a few. Give me the over in this Rockies-Mets game. Next up, we see the San Diego Padres taking on the Kansas City Royals. No official starter for the Royals right now. Yu Darvish looks to be the probable starter for San Diego, but there is nothing official right now. There's no line out, and usually this would be a game I would take a Ruffalo on, take a pass on, but just to talk about the game a little bit, I'm going to lean towards San Diego on the run line. Not my favorite game on the board, that's for sure. But, Kansas City's offense has not really done much against righties in the last month. The isolated power numbers ranked 19th, so well below average. They're also ranked 26th in team OPS. Strikeout rate is in the top 10 right now as a team against those righties. So I don't think they do much against Darvish. I think the Padres offense can get to the Royals bullpen. We'll see who Kansas City decides to start in this game. But like I said, staying away from this one altogether. I'll lean towards the Padres on the run line. Next up, we see the Atlanta Braves taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. Jordan Montgomery and Charlie Morton are the projected starters. Pretty interesting game here. We have 2 pitchers that are in great form. Charlie Morton has had 23 strikeouts in his last 12 2/3 innings, not giving up a home run in either of those games against the Mets and Astros. 2 very strong lineups, only 2 earned runs combined between the 2 outings, and he's given up 2 or fewer walks in each of his last 5 starts. We know that the walks have been an issue for Morton at times in his career and this season, but limiting the free passes right now, he's in good form. On the other side, Jordan Montgomery, in his first 4 starts with his new team, absolutely amazing work. Only 1 earned run allowed combined through those 4 outings, striking out a good amount of hitters. But what I will say is when you look at those matchups, matchup by matchup, the first start against the New York Yankees, he pitched very well. He didn't give up a single earned run through 5 innings, but he only had 1 strikeout. He was facing a Yankees lineup that was struggling overall, and it was kind of a favorable matchup because of that. Then the next start he faces the Milwaukee Brewers. We just mentioned the Brewers have been miserable against lefties all year long, so there's really no surprise to see that Montgomery pitches well against them also. Then he gets to face the Colorado Rockies, but not at Coors Field, at Busch Stadium, where we know the Rockies' numbers offensively when they're on the road far worse on the road than they are at home. So, pretty favorable matchup as well. And then his most recent outing, the Chicago Cubs, he won a complete game shutout, 7 strikeouts, got to give it to him. However, the Chicago Cubs are much better against righties and lefties, so another favorable matchup here. He's not getting that in this game when he's facing the Atlanta Braves. He's facing a lineup that's crushed lefties basically all year long. They're number 5 in team OPS against lefties in the last month. Isolated power numbers are in the top 10 as well. And the big thing for Atlanta is they're limiting strikeouts against lefties, which this is a pretty impressive part of their team. Is they're pretty much home run or nothing for most of the year. They strike out quite a bit against righties, but against lefties, a 17.2% K rate in the last month. That's the 3rd lowest in baseball, even lower than the St. Louis Cardinals. So I think this is actually a pretty good matchup for the Atlanta offense. If there was a start that Montgomery struggled in his first 5 with his new team, this would be the one. So I'm going to take the Atlanta Braves here behind Morton on the money line. Next up, we see the Minnesota Twins taking on the San Francisco Giants. We're going to see Alex Cobb and Sonny Gray on the mound for this one. Now, I do like both of these pitchers in the first 5 innings of this game. I'm going to take the under first 5 yet again in this matchup. The San Francisco Giants, they're not doing much against right-handed pitching, and they're facing a solid righty in Sonny Gray, who's having a good season with his new team. While on the other side, Alex Cobb's ERA now below 4 on the season. He has really impressed since the beginning of the year, where he had some struggles early on. He had an injury, but now he's been sharp. His last start against the Rockies was at Coors Field. He only gave up 3 earned runs. He gave up 10 base hits, but he has not done very well at Coors Field in his career, so not really a surprise there. But the previous outing to that one, 6 innings, 1 earned run, 5 strikeouts against the D-backs. Pitched very, very well in that game. And the Minnesota Twins offense has not been the same, especially with Buxton out of the lineup. I think both teams start out slow in this game offensively. Give me the under first 5, 4 runs in this one. Next up, we see the New York Yankees taking on the Oakland Athletics. No official starter for the Yankees right now. Adam Oller going for the A's. Now, we saw the first game of this series. A similar pitcher to Adam Oller and James Caprillion. He got shelled in that one. The Yankees offense exploded. 13 runs, 20 base hits, and Adam Oller's got a 7.71 ERA at home this year, even worse than his road numbers, and he's given up plenty of home runs, plenty of base hits, doesn't strike out many guys. He got 5 walks and a homer in his last start to the Miami Marlins of all teams, so I really can't trust Oller here. We'll have to see who the Yankees decide to start, but even if they start the weakest link of their rotation or bullpen, I still think it's good enough or better than Adam Oller in this game. Give me the New York Yankees on the run line, laying the 1.5 runs. And in our final game of the night, we see the Seattle Mariners hosting the Cleveland Guardians. This game on Fox Sports 1 at 10:10 Eastern start time. Luis Castillo for Seattle and Zach Plesac for the Guardians. I think the Mariners have the advantage here in starting pitching and the bullpen. While I do love Emmanuel Clase and James Karinchak at the end of this Guardians bullpen, I don't love their 5, 6, 7 inning options. And Zach Plesac hasn't been going deep into games. He's only reached the 6th inning once, or he's only pitched at 6 innings at least once in his last 5 starts, and that was against the Detroit Tigers, who we know have struggled offensively, and he even gave up a home run against the Tigers back on August 11th and August 16th. His last start against Detroit, 9 hits, 4 earned runs, a home run, 3 walks. His strikeout numbers aren't there. The walks are piling up, at least 3 in 3 of his last 5. The hits are also piling up, at least 7 in 3 of his last 4. So I think that the Mariners offense shows up here against Plesac, while Luis Castillo is only started home with his new team in Seattle against the New York Yankees back on August 9th. He went 8 innings of shutout balls, 7 strikeouts. We know Seattle, very pitcher-friendly ballpark. I think Castillo bounces back here after his weakest start as a Mariner. I think the Mariners win this game at home. Give me Seattle on the money line. And that's it. Those are the games for Saturday, August 27th. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pickdawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.